So I've watched Assad, and I've watched a little bit on the other side. The problem is the other side of Assad, we have no idea who they are. They probably are ISIS. I'm saying, are we better off with Assad? We have no idea who these people are. We give them weapons, we give them ammunition, we give them everything. Aaron, we have no idea who, I mean, maybe it's worse than Assad. So what are we doing? Why are we involved? We have to get rid of ISIS, very importantly. But I look at Assad, and Assad to me looks better than the other side. And you know, this has happened before. We back a certain side, and that side turns out to be a total catastrophe. Russia likes Assad seemingly a lot. Let them worry about ISIS. Let them fight it
out. That's right. Good morning, folks. I'm Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Hope you guys are having a good morning. You know, today is technically episode 116, but I was looking through the records today. I think I had like 2 episode 110s and 2 episode 115s. I just don't keep it straight. I guess I need to take things a little bit more seriously. But we're just here for fun, aren't we? Good morning, Sherry. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. And, you know, I had to play that little video clip of Donald Trump talking about, this was, you know, from quite some time ago, talking to a CNN reporter about Assad in Syria, because we all know the answer now, don't we? Maybe we didn't know back then, but we do know now. And what we do know now is that, yes, Assad was the better choice. Some might say the lesser of two evils. I don't consider him to be evil, but I can live with that statement. And yes, Assad was definitely better, as the world is drawn to Syria over their cleansing of minorities, Christians, Druids, Alawites, hundreds being killed. Absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Well, we have Col Joe Adams joining us this morning. He's going to pop in at 8 a.m. We're going to talk to him for a few moments, and we'll hopefully for more than a few moments. Other than that, lots to talk about today. You know, nothing too crazy going on in the news this morning. You know, we have a lot to talk about. There are a lot of peace deals in the works today. That we've got Marco Rubio over in Saudi Arabia talking to Zelensky, trying to work some type of deal. We have Russia thinking about using an Oreshnik missile against Ukraine. Things are ramping up in that area. You know, are we looking at peace? It's like things seem a little peaceful, then they get a little crazy. We're going to talk about that. Marco Rubio also taking over the Department of what I call USAID, 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 however you want to call it. You know why? Because Doge isn't really in the picture anymore. That's why. Good morning, Allison. Hope you're having a good morning. So lots to get into today. You know, first, I want to talk about something a little bit more personal, because it's something I think we all think about and worry about. And that is that some of you know I've had some problems with my vehicle recently. I have a Jeep. I bought it used. You know, it's new to me. I bought it in July of 2024. And it served me fantastically while my son and I were in Georgia, because we drove up the craziest mountains. I mean, I kid you not, the craziest mountains. And, you know, through the wilderness and up these ravines and into the hollers. And it just did absolutely fantastic. Well, then not too long ago, it started acting kind of funny. And it had, if anybody out there is familiar with vehicle issues, it had a cylinder 4 misfire code P0304, which from what I understand is that code that makes people think, oh gosh, not that one. Because it can't be any number of things. You know, there's a whole lot of different things that cause a cylinder 4 misfire. So my son, who does work on vehicles, he's very busy, but he took a look at it and he's like, you know, he just doesn't know. He did everything he could think of. He replaced the spark plugs, replaced the coils, did all of these different things, and still nothing was working right. So I finally thought, you know, he doesn't have time to keep messing with this. I'm just going to take it to a auto mechanic, you know, someone local. My son recommended someone to me that he came into contact through work. And, you know, this guy was really great. Took it in, you know, he's like, oh, we'll get it done, you know, right away. And they did get it done right away. But what's crazy is when I went and picked it up, and I was so excited to go pick it up because I thought finally I can drive the Jeep again. I've had to drive the, you know, the old Jeep recently, and, you know, and which really my son's been driving mostly these days. So anyway, so I went and picked it up, and this was a, you know, maybe 2 weeks ago. I just hadn't talked about it yet because I just found out some new information. And I picked it up and I was so disappointed because as soon as I pulled out of the driveway of this guy's shop, I'm like, this is not right. It's still doing the same thing it was doing before. And when I took it, the guy's like, oh, I know exactly what it is. It's a fuel injector. I just fixed one of these with the same code, last week. This is exactly what it is. And I'm thinking, well, that's great. I'm so glad that somebody knows what's wrong. And here's what's crazy is that he messaged me at one point, and I don't know if he was scamming me, trying to be helpful. I'm not really sure, but he was like, I think that since I'm already going to be in there, do you just want to replace all six fuel injectors? My Jeep has six fuel injectors. And he said, and the intake needs a gasket also. That's something, oh, I'd love to fix that up for you while I'm here. And I'm thinking, okay, well, how much will all this cost? Oh, $2,000. I'm like, if I don't need six fuel injectors, I'm not paying $2,000 for, repairs that I don't even need. Now, the intake, I obviously fix that, fix whatever the problem is. Whatever the problem is, just fix it because I just want to be able to drive again. You're telling me it's one fuel injector. I don't want to replace all six for $2,000. And thank God I said that. Thank God I said that. So I pulled away that day and it didn't work. Text the guy back and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on. Obviously, you didn't drive the Jeep because if you did, then you would have known that nothing was fixed. Once you put this fuel injector in and fix the intake, which he said he gave me a really good deal because he was able to take a part off of some other Jeep he had to fix the intake. So I was just paying for the fuel and the new fuel injector, and I can't remember what else he said, but it was like $500, nothing that's too big of a deal. And so, but I told him, I said, there's no way you drove the car. I would have at least expected you to drive it because otherwise you would not have called me and told me to come and pick it up that, oh, I fixed the problem because it's definitely not fixed. It obviously wasn't the fuel injector. It's doing the exact same thing it was already doing. And so, I was on my way somewhere that night and I didn't really have time to talk to him. And so therefore I I just sent him a message, that it wasn't fixed, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, later on that night, he sent me a message. He's like, oh, well, I refunded the entire amount back to your card because I don't want an unhappy customer. And I thought, and I told him, I said, well, I didn't expect you to do that. You don't have to fully refund me. You did the work, you bought the parts. And then I've just been super busy and haven't been able to get back to it. And I was just talking to my son the other day. He's like, well, we need to go up there and pay this guy because he did do the work and he did buy the parts. I'm like, yes, let's just make some time to go do that. Well, then yesterday I took it somewhere else and had it looked at, and they took it apart. They're like, didn't you say that somebody put a new fuel injector in here? I'm like, yeah. And they said, no, they did not. They said, this is not a new fuel injector. Now, maybe they used an old fuel injector and put a new old fuel injector in here, but it's definitely not a fuel injector. He's like, in fact, I would say they didn't do anything because the fuel injector looks exactly like all the other fuel injectors. The numbers are all the same. It doesn't look like it's a new part at all, or even maybe a part that came off another vehicle. So then I'm thinking, so you're telling me that I feel bad that I didn't come back and pay this guy who apparently lied to me. Now I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say his name or the name of his company. It's not worth blasting someone, but it's just another lesson we have that you really have a hard time trusting people, especially, and I'm not even going to say female. It's not even about that because my son was with me. It's someone that my son had met. And, I'm not going to go around town telling anyone. I'm not going to say a darn thing about it, quite honestly, because there's nothing I can prove. I don't want to get in trouble for a libel or anything like that. But it's extremely upsetting that you think, you're getting work done and you think they're going to do the right thing. And then you find out that you were lied to. The only thing I can guess is this guy thought that when he fixed the intake, that would fix the entire problem. And so he wouldn't even need to do the fuel injector. I really have no idea, but thank God I did not pay this guy $2,000 to replace all six fuel injectors. I would be kicking myself right now because that would not have fixed the situation. Good morning, Karen. And let's see. Get an OBD2 scanner and diagnose problems with your car yourself. These gadgets are super cheap, user friendly, and accurate. But yes, I did. My son has one. Actually, my son works on cars. Good morning, Jay. But it keeps coming up that cylinder 4 misfire. It says it's running rich. I don't even know what that means, is what he explained to me. But if you look at the cylinder 4 misfire, the P0304 code, it can be a whole list of different things. Some of them not so bad, some of them very bad. So I'm hoping I don't have like I think my son maybe said a cracked valve or head gasket or something. I just bought some. I bought a testing kit to do a leak down test. So we'll see where that goes. Mr. Joe Lynette, good morning to you. It's just sad. There are so many good mechanics, but a few cast a bad light on the good ones. It is, Joe, and I wish I could prove that this guy didn't put a new fuel injector in. I mean, technically I can, because I did end up having to replace the fuel injector, the same one again, and it still didn't fix the problem. But I was shown the difference between, well, this is a new fuel injector. This is the fuel injector that this person says they replaced. And there was a definite clear difference between the two. The one that was supposed to be new was definitely not new. And then the one that really was new that I saw as being new was a very big difference between the two. So it's really unfortunate. You just can't trust people. Allison said, I would have to call them out for ripping off customers. You were not the only one. I agree, Allison. And if I could prove it, I would definitely do that. But in this kind of situation, there's just no way you can prove it. The guy could come back and say, well, it just got dirty after I put it in, even though I've not driven it since then. I have not driven it at all since he said he put this new fuel injector in, because it doesn't drive. I'm not going to drive with my engine light flashing. And Jay says, takes a computer degree nowadays to diagnose some of these cars. Yeah. And I'm not blaming the guy for not knowing exactly what the problem was, because it is difficult. It's a difficult issue for sure. But if you tell me you're going to replace something, and then at least have done it. Now it makes me wonder, he said a lot of the people that come to his shop are people that are just passing through town, traveling, down the highway. I'm like, who knows what kind of scam has been pulled on these people? Or maybe the scam was just pulled on me. I have no way to know. And either way, I'm not going to worry about it anymore. It's not worth it. Somebody in my own community, and I'm not going to be fighting with somebody in my community over something I can't prove, but certainly very suspicious. Jay says it's not a big deal using refurbished or even used parts if you tell them what you're doing and the price is reduced. Right. I agree, Jay. If somebody said, hey, I'm going to save some money, I'm going to use this used part that I have laying around, which he did do with the intake, I'm perfectly fine with that, because I really just want my car to run. I just want to be able to drive it. And so that's really all that matters. But just tell me the truth. You don't have to lie about it. And I really have my doubts that they put any part in there at all, quite honestly, based on the way it looks. Maybe they have a medical condition and they just think they did. Who knows? Who knows? But either way, I want to show you guys something really, really quick here. Lots to talk about today. We have Col Joe Adams going to join us in just a few minutes. I've got to send the link to him. I normally already do that, and this morning I just forgot. I've got a lot going on today. I think I told you guys I had to go and get that CT scan yesterday, because back in October I had some nodules in my lungs and a enlarged lymph node. And I'm thinking, oh, it's probably gone by now and not a big deal, or an infection. Well, in fact, it's not gone. It's actually grown pretty significantly. And now I have to go and get a PET scan, which doesn't mean anything. I don't want anybody to think, oh, it's so bad. It's probably still nothing. But at least I can go and get the scan and rule out, that it's not something worse. So I've had a really busy morning today trying to get some things together and doctor appointments lined out and all this good stuff. Good morning, Karen. And Jay, mechanics are notorious for shady repairs, especially where women are involved. And Jay, my son went with me. This guy knows who my son is through my son's work. So I'm not really sure what exactly happens, but I won't go there again. I'm not going to talk bad about the guy. I'm not going to tell anyone in my community what happened, because I just can't prove it. Good morning, Glasna from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So I wanted to show this to you guys really quick. Because we're going to be talking about this here in just a little while. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I played this clip at the beginning of the show. It was Donald Trump talking about, and I know most of you who've jumped in don't see the beginning. So I want to play this again, because there's so much going on in Syria right now. And we have a lot of world leaders now calling out the terrorists in Syria for killing, Christians and Alawites. And we have Donald Trump who said, I warned you guys a long time ago that this was going to happen because guess what? Just like we say on the show so often, Democrats, for whatever reason, the Democrat regime, they always support the terror groups. And now there's a lot of reports that Israel is also supporting these terror groups who are committing these atrocious acts against these Christians and Alawites. And so I'm going to play this clip because Donald Trump's going to be talking quite a bit about this because he did. He warned us that maybe Assad wasn't the bad guy after all, maybe the lesser of two evils. So I'm going to let this play for here for just a couple seconds. I need to get this email out to Colonel Joe Adams, and we'll be
I've watched
right back.
Assad, and I've watched a little bit on the other side. The problem is the other side of Assad, we have no idea who they are. They probably are ISIS. I'm saying, are we better off with Assad? We have no idea who these people are. We give them weapons, we give them ammunition, we give them everything. Aaron, we have no idea who, I mean, maybe it's worse than Assad. So what are we doing? Why are we involved? We have to get rid of ISIS, very importantly. But I look at Assad, and Assad, to me, looks better than the other side. And, this has happened before. We back a certain side, and that side turns out to be a total catastrophe. Russia likes Assad seemingly a lot. Let them worry about ISIS. Let them fight it out.
And that's exactly right. I played that twice, partly for a placeholder so I could send this email to Deanna and Colonel Joe Adams because I simply forgot to do it earlier. And also because we are going to be talking about this a little bit more at length in the coming days and the coming weeks because people are calling out what's taking place in Syria right now. It is awful. And these people, they're Christians. What would we do if if terrorists took over our country and they were coming to your home one by one and saying either you bow down, in this case to Allah, and you become a Sunni Muslim, you become ultra conservative, you start wearing a black burqa, and you start following our ideology and you start following along with our laws. And what would you do? Would you just say, okay, I give up my Christianity and I'm now going to become a ultra conservative Sunni Muslim. I'm going to throw my jeans away and put my black burqa on and I'm going to pray 5 times a day and grow a beard. And all of a sudden now me as a woman, I'm going to quit driving. I'm going to, lose all my rights. In the country of Syria, women have rights. Women have rights in Syria. Women wear blue jeans in Syria. They wear their hair long. They go without hair coverings, but not anymore. Not anymore. Not without Assad. Assad kept people free. People are not free in Syria anymore. And what would you do? I think you would say, no, Jesus is my savior. I only have one God, and you're going to go to the death, fighting for what you believe in. And it's really unfortunate that this is what's happening. And Patty, you're right. Patty says, I will never give up my faith in Jesus. And that's exactly right, because that's what these people are facing right now. And it's atrocious and it's unfortunate. I don't know what we're going to do if we're going to step in. Russia has been a great protector of the people of Syria, trying to keep ISIS at bay. And in the whole entire time, they fought the Democrat regime under Obama, under Joe Biden, people who support these terrorists. Now we have Donald Trump in office who does not support terrorism. Is this a situation in which you would agree to sending troops over to Syria to fight back? Is there anything we can even do at this point? I don't think there is. I don't think there is. Could we potentially offer refugee status to the Kurds and to the Christians and to the Druids and to the Alawites that are being slaughtered? I wish I'm not going to show it here. Some of you follow me on Telegram. I have a Telegram channel called Tabs on Tap, and I share things there that I can't share on regular social media or that I can't share here because, there's a lot of violence that occurs in our world, and you can show this on Telegram. You cannot show it on typical social media. There are topics you'll get banned in social media for just even discussing. The censorship is so strong. Even now with Trump in office, the censorship is still pretty strong. So I share those things over on Telegram, and I've got videos, of these Al Jalani terrorists going door to door and dragging Christians out of their home, dragging Alawites out of their home and massacring the entire family. How do we allow something like this to happen in our world today? How do we allow it to happen? I just don't know. I don't know. And look at what's happening across our southern border. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there was a compound that was raided, some time ago. This wasn't super recent. Well, when the compound was raided by Mexican authorities, they really didn't find a lot. They had found 9 bodies in a vehicle, and those 9 bodies, they had had their hands removed, and their hands were placed in bags. And they found the 9 bodies. They raided this compound, didn't find anything. They left. Well, eventually some citizens kind of went in, they found some things. So the authorities came back. Now, did the authorities really not find anything the first time? I don't know. But they did come back. And when they came back, what's crazy is that they found 3 ovens buried kind of like in little tunnels. 3 ovens. They found the human remains of probably hundreds of people. They found 400 pairs of shoes, over 400 pairs of shoes. They found backpacks and suitcases and jewelry. A couple of these people have already been identified by family members based on things that were found, within wallets or shoes. And apparently it looks like what was probably happening is that, I'm guessing, this is just my guess, that people were probably approaching drug cartels, just various cartels, about sneaking them across the border, coyotes and so on. They were probably paying these people a large amount of money to sneak them across the border. And instead, they took their money and probably burned them in these burn pits and in these ovens, and discarded, of course, their shoes and their jewelry and their wallets and their backpacks and their suitcases. Now, why they didn't burn all of those things too, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe they just thought that they could sell them or salvage some things. I really don't know. But I mean, you look at all the atrocity that's happening across the world. We can't be the world's police. We can't jump in on literally everything. But there are some things we have to start getting involved in, because what's happening across the world, it's just absolutely horrific. All right, we got Colonel Joe Adams joining us with the Washington Guard. Cannot wait to talk to him. Colonel Joe Adams, I'm going to pull him in here with us. It looks like he's ready. And it's my fault for not getting that link out to him this morning. Lots on my mind this morning. Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. Good morning. Happy
Good
to
morning.
see you. And is that maybe a little bit of the boss, Deanna, behind you? And I see your little kitty cat. And I love your patriot display today.
There's cats following me everywhere. I didn't know cats did that. They're supposed to be outside mousing, but they would prefer to be inside with me. So anyway.
Well, how are you doing, Colonel Joe Adams, this morning with the Washington Guard? What's on your mind?
Well, I had a conversation with a police officer from Springfield, Missouri, and I had to go down to do a presentation about the border. And he told me to, get heads up, make sure I'm armed the whole time I'm down there. I'm like, what? I mean, of course I am, but why would you say that? He says, oh, Springfield's turned into a real crap hole. Crime's off the charts. I go, what, Springfield? So I started looking into it, and there's a media outlet called 24/7 Wall Street, which, and I subscribe to some kind of out of the way publications to see what other people were thinking about. And they had an article in there about the the 7 most dangerous gangs in Missouri. Now, if you think about gangs in Missouri, I think about the Crips and Bloods, Kansas City, whatever happened to those guys. Anyway, and this is shock. I have to read this because the Aryan Circle is one. Obviously, those are white supremacists. The second one is Family Values. There's actually a gang. I'm serious. There's a gang called Family Values. The other one, there's a Joplin Honkies, which sounds about right. And then the Missouri Aryan Brotherhood, North Trianos, which I assume is a Latin gang, and Peckerwood Midwest is another gang. And the last one, the most dangerous, is a sacred separatist group. So I've never heard of anything other than the Aryans. And I don't know what. How would you like to go around and say I'm a member of the Peckerwoods? I don't think I would. And then whatever happened to the old familiar faces, the Crips and Bloods? They're not even on the list. So
right. Well, definitely not in Springfield. They're not on the list.
yeah. So then I looked at the most dangerous cities in Missouri for women, because my wife's heavily involved in martial arts, and she attends classes here in Washington. I'll get into that in a minute. But the 10th place most dangerous city to women. Now we're talking about rapes, okay? The 10 most dangerous cities to women in Missouri. Number 10 is Cape Girardeau with 21. Now this is 2024 statistics. They had 24 rapes there. Number 9 is Blue Springs, Missouri. They had 26 rapes. Number 8 is Lee Summit, Missouri, and they had 63 rapes. Columbia, Missouri, and I heard about this too. They said the crime in Columbia, Missouri is getting rampant. It's out of control. My wife ran a marathon down there, and I was down there talking to some local, and they said, I go, Columbia, Missouri, a college town? Anyway, Columbia, Missouri had 69 rapes last year. St. Joseph, which is ranked number 5 for most dangerous, had 124 rapes.
Holy cow.
Independence, Missouri had 125 rapes. And here we go. Number 3 of the most dangerous cities in Missouri for women, St. Louis is ranked number 3, St. Louis City, with 256 rapes. Kansas City, Missouri is second with 347 rapes. And guess who number 1 is? Springfield, Missouri, with 356 rapes last year. And when I asked my friend, 35-year detective, law enforcement, I asked him, I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, 2 things. We let anybody move in here now, including the illegals, house them, feed them, and the politicians who own the facilities don't really care. They're just taking the government's money. So I said, so you're saying the illegals? He said, the illegals and the homeless people, the people we allowed in our community and not police them and not arrest them, are destroying Springfield, Missouri.
And Colonel Adams, this has been going on for some time right now. I think most people know, know that I own a security company, and I've done security in Springfield, Missouri. I've done security in Columbia, Missouri. And I'll tell you what, Springfield, I was always shocked. We did a sting there one time. We work in anti-piracy on one of the theaters there, where they had somebody actively pirating movies. So, I had to be there for, days on end, over a period of weeks. And I learned a lot about the community at that time. And there's a lot of homeless people there. And a lot of other communities in Missouri will transport their homeless and drop them off in Springfield, because Springfield will allow people to openly camp just anywhere in the city. They can set up a camp, in any city park, on the street. We had homeless people camping out in front of the movie theater that we were working at. And it's just, the crime there is absolutely insane.
We got our local crime center right now is Sullivan, Missouri, for the same thing. The buses pull up, they drop them off. The people who in the political world in Sullivan who own the apartments rent to them, knowing that they're a problem, but they do it anyway. And basically, the law enforcement's hands are tied in Sullivan, and they're not doing anything. And so Sullivan's really turning. And again, with the comparison to Springfield and Highway 44 route coming through. 44 was always the narcotic super highway because it goes across the United States. So anyway, I was shocked. It's 356 rapes in Springfield. So ladies, if you don't attend the Center of Defensive Arts here in Washington, ran by Tim Rafferty, incredible program. But some of the Washington Guard ladies attend it regularly. Be prepared to defend yourself. And of course, what works the best.
I'm wondering what's going on here. Colonel Adams, now, obviously, Rates are always higher in college towns. Cape Girardeau, college town. Lee Summit, they have a college there. Columbia, Missouri, college. Springfield, Missouri, college.
Yeah.
Nothing surprises about Kansas City or St. Louis, but what in the world's going on in Blue Springs and St. Joseph, Missouri? Is it like just one guy running around raping everyone? I mean, those are small communities.
It is small
Those
community.
numbers are astronomical. How is this even possible?
Uh, I really don't have an answer for that other than the transits that come through there and set up camp. Again, don't forget rural America is an easy soft target. So, and a few of those little towns are very, very rural and soft targets. So anyway, get a gun, learn how to use it, and carry it. So that's all I can tell you. That's the best defense you've got.
It's the only defense you have, Colonel Adams. It's the only defense you have. And I'll tell you what, I hope people take you up on your offer there, because I'll tell you, being a female, you do worry. We have an extra worry on top of what a lot of men worry about. And we have to worry about whether we're in our own home or walking to our car or out shopping, walking through the park, whatever it is we're doing. There's always somebody looking over our shoulder trying to figure out a way to take advantage of us. And you cannot count, as much as we all love law enforcement, they're still a call away. And I'll tell you, I've written a crime blog for years, and I know what happens to women. And you know what? It happens in the blink of an eye. And most of the time, you don't have an ability to call law enforcement. You have to be able to take care of yourself.
Well, that's why the number one thing that we teach at the Washington Guard is the fact that at some time in your life, you're going to be on your own. And
That's
don't forget,
right.
they don't call them first responders for nothing. They're responding to a situation that's either happened or is happening. So it could be 10 minutes. It only takes a second to kill somebody. So you're on your own. When I was living in St. Louis and I put on a post thing about what's going on in the neighborhood, and I away from the Galleria, and they thought I was crazy. And I said, I'm telling you what, right now the Galleria is turning into a hotbed of crime, and they were taking it over. And sure enough, now the Galleria is, I think, in fact, Richmond Heights, where the Galleria is situated, when I left there, they had fired, I believe, 16 employees from the city, workers, because they no longer had the tax base that the Galleria provided. And so they had to lay people off because people aren't shopping there. And so the vendors like Macy's are threatening to leave. And so what they did was to keep them was to cut their taxes, and some of them pay no taxes whatsoever in Richmond Heights. And so Richmond Heights can't afford to have the personnel it takes to manage the town. So
You're right.
It's a chain reaction. And when they completed the Metro link into Richmond Heights and stops at the Galleria, crime went up 400% almost immediately.
I remember when that happened. And Colonel Adams, I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. The Galleria will not be there much longer. There's going to be a point in time very soon, sooner than most people imagine, that's going to be apartment buildings and a different type of shopping center. And they're going to eliminate a lot of that crime. That's not going to be a mall any longer. It's a very limited time. Most people don't know that, so I'm giving you a little secret there.
Yeah, we didn't have enough crime in Richmond Heights. We had to bring them in by Metro. So anyway, that's the Center of Defense Arts in Washington. Fantastic place. Tim Rafferty is the instructor, multiple black belt. And another thing too, I'm a lot older than my wife. Okay, I'm 14 years older than my wife. And so what I've done for a period of years now is prepare her to take care of herself when I'm no longer around. I got her involved in martial arts. She shot her first combat competition a week ago in Arnold with pistols. She's an expert marksman, knows weapons inside and out. I got her her first compound bow for Christmas. Now she's shooting archery, martial arts, archery, handguns, shotguns, rifles, survival skills, because someday she's going to be on her own, and it can happen at any time. So I have prepared my wife to take care of herself when I'm no longer with her. So that's my.
And that's a great husband you are. And we all have to do that. I'm not married. I just have to take it upon myself to make sure that I can protect myself. And things we're facing some times where, even though Donald Trump is in office, we're going to face that rough patch where things get worse before they get better. And we still have to have our heads on a swivel.
Always. We stay at a level of DEFCON to take a second look around. I play a game constantly. When I see somebody crossing a street or anything, I try and profile them, who they are, where they're going, and what they're going to do. So it's just a game. Strategic, something happened. It hit me the other day. We talked about strategic respect before, on a world scale. Strategic respect, for those who might have missed that definition, the definition of strategic respect is before a country does something, they always considered what would be the United States response if we do this. If we do this, what's the United States going to say? So they actually consider a strategic respect the fact that they respect us strategically. Well, during the Biden administration, we dropped to number 3. It was Russia, China, and us. Before Biden, during the first Trump administration, it was United States, Russia, China. So we actually dropped to 3rd. Well, now we're back to first place, strategic respect. Everybody's considering not only what the United States will do, but what will Donald Trump do? And
that's right.
These Canadian people, I mean, come on. Where do you think strategic respect? I can't talk this morning. What do you think Canada rates as far as global strategic respect? And they're up there banging their shields right now. Okay.
I would say pretty low on the scale, just because of their size and the size of their military and their neutrality. But, Colonel Adams, before the show's over, I'm going to be talking about the fake election that just took place in Canada.
Oh, come on, Quebecois, whatever. We have a similar problem here in the United States as Canada. People don't identify that. See, there's actually, we've talked about this before, there's actually 2 Canadas. There's a French Canadian and there's a British Canadian, and they hate each other. Like I told you that time when I was working with NATO forces up in Canada on nuclear plant security, went into the military mess hall there, and the French sit on one side and the British sit on the other side. They hate each other. And so, but what's that sound like? Doesn't that sound like the United States, the Democrats and Republicans? The reason they can't get anything done in Canada is because of that separation. And it's happened right here in this country. The other night when Trump gave his speech, and I watched those clowns, those lunatics, as Donald Trump calls them, Democrats, they've lost their minds. But with all these federal judges appointed by the Biden administration, everything they can do to get in his way, they're going to do it.
You know that Doge is no more. They canceled Doge.
Yeah, I saw that, that's a mistake. Anyway, so I can't say anyway. She's got a thing right here. Can you see this? It says, "Don't stop saying anyway." See that? So much for that. Anyway, my producer. Who cares what Canada thinks? They've never done anything anyway. If it wasn't for us, they would still be speaking British, whatever. They might be speaking Chinese if it wasn't for us. But Greenland's a serious issue.
Their election is today.
Yeah. So the parliament, they got a parliament, right? Yeah. Yeah, that should be interesting. They're already on there banging their shields about anti-American, all this kind of stuff. Without us, Canada wouldn't even be there. So anyway. So my wife's losing her mind back there. Will you stop saying that? Anyway, I should see. There you go. Yeah. What I have it. Yeah, it's my way out of it. I say anyway to get out of a corner. But we'll see what happens today with Parliament. But should be interesting.
Well, we're hoping, at least Donald Trump is hoping, that Greenland votes for independence from Denmark. Now, in Greenland, there's 6 political parties. 5 of those political parties want independence. Not necessarily they want to become part of the United States, but they do want independence. So if those five other parties prevail over the one, then Greenland will see their independence. And then I think that we'll have a very good option of taking Greenland. I'm sure you've heard Donald Trump's statement that said, this was a very direct quote he made, that we need Greenland for national security, obviously because of their rare earth minerals. And he said that it will happen one way or the other. We will take Greenland. So, that you can read that however you want. Let's hope it's with diplomacy, and that they vote for independence today, and then we can bargain a deal with them.
Greenland is very, very important to the strategic defense of this country. If we acquire Greenland, but the first thing I do is the politicians are try to say, "Oh no, we're Greenland, we're not American." Well, you know what? Everybody wants to come here. We'll just bring it to them. But strategically, we would positively control the North Atlantic. It's very, very important, and strategically, especially for strikes against our enemies, if we have to go to war with Russia, not in my lifetime, but I think eventually eventually the biggest guys on the block are going to get into a fight, and so that's just human nature. And I think down the road that we know we're going to end up with a war with China. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but probably not during my lifetime. But I would say within the next 50 years, it's if in fact we're still here, that we're going to have to deal with China on a military basis. That's too bad.
It's certainly possible, but I think things are changing now. Of course, Trump is in office now. We don't know what's coming next or who will take his place or where we'll go from there. I think that the way I see things anyway, is I see us, I'm not saying we're going to join BRICS, but I see us moving closer. We're working peace deals right now with Iran. Whoever thought, that would happen, that we would, diplomatically have talks between Donald Trump and Iran and talking about their nuclear, weapon program in a very respectful way. And, we've got these tariffs against China. China is not our friend by any means. And I don't ever see us under Donald Trump going to war against Russia. I see us potentially fighting with Russia, against our common enemies. But, we'll have to see how things play out in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, we got dangerous times ahead of us. I see
sure
the Democrats have filed over 100 lawsuits against the Trump administration to stop him. See, they just don't quit. Also, I don't know how they're going to define this, but they found out that Joe Biden actually didn't sign all of those directives.
We talked about that yesterday. Well, it's the auto pen scandal, which it could completely nullify Joe Biden's presidency. Colonel Adams, I'm sure you already know this since you're bringing it up. We talked about it at great length yesterday, is that every single document that Joe Biden signed during his 4 years was signed with an auto pen. He didn't sign that. The only document he signed himself was his letter to drop out of the 2024 election. Now, this is how they stole the money from us, right?
It helps. What do they call it? The electric pen?
Auto pen.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like when you get a DocuSign.
Yeah.
When somebody says, here, DocuSign this, anyone can sign it. There's no authenticity. And so that means that anything he cited, including the pardons, including any executive orders, including any legislature, was not signed by Joe Biden.
That's a first.
Yeah, Missouri's own Andrew Bailey is actually going after the Biden administration for exactly that.
Well, DOGE is a good idea, and he surrounded himself with good people. We know where the money went to. We just don't know how. And these companies that they give money to that are not accountable, all of that money, like with USAID and those NGOs. Here's the thing: it's incredible. What a scam! They're not accountable for anything, and
they never will be.
I talked about that months ago about when I went to Washington to go to Homeland Security and try and get a grant for Project Blue Light when I was working with Border Patrol to continue on that. When I went into DHS headquarters in Washington with one of Donald Trump's running buddies, there was nobody there. And I finally found one lady. There should have been hundreds of people there working, right? Nobody's there. This is in the middle of the week. So I finally found a lady. I walked through DHS. Of course, I had my clearance, my pass, and all that. But I'm walking through an incredible facilities, and nobody's there. Where are all these people? So I found a lady, and I told her why I was there. She said, "Oh yeah." Well, I said, "Well, where is everybody?" Well, they're working. They don't have any desk work to do. So I told her what I wanted. She said, "Oh yeah. That was a good idea. We did that a couple of years ago with an intelligence operation like you also." And I said, what was the name of it? Well, I don't know. Well, can you tell me the name of it? Because there's only so many intelligence operations going on the border. Where did this money go to? Texas? Which was that?
We'll never know.
Huh?
We'll never know.
Oh yes, I had asked the producer. So I asked the lady. I said, "Well, how much was the grant first? Then they would become an NGO like we were, government contractor." And I said, well, "How much money did you give them, doing the same thing that I just described?" She said, "We give them $3 million." I go, "You gave them $3 million?" I said, "If you gave a unit like my intelligence operation $3 million, I would know where they're working. I would know them, and they would know me. Who are they? We don't know." I said, "Well, do you have any reports what they produced?" "Oh no, we don't ask for that." I go, "Wait a minute, you don't get any after action reports? So what did you get for your $3 million?" She says, "I have no idea." I go, if you give me $3 million, I'd have shut the border down. I said, but if I would have gotten $3 million grant, then I would be accountable. I would pick an agent inside DHS and I would report to them. So my reports are on file, but what you're getting for the money. Don't require it. What a scam. What a scam.
And there will be no accountability.
No, I mean, they've never had accountability. That's amazing.
And they never will. Even under Donald Trump, there's going to be no accountability because, the courts will never allow it. They block every single thing Trump does. He obviously had to end the Doge. The Doge department is technically still there with Elon Musk serving as an advisor, but they are no longer auditing accounts. They stop. Colonel Adams, what we talked about yesterday is, I think it's awfully coincidental, right? That the Department of Doge, their audit was stopped at the IRS when they started looking into these NGOs, and when they started to look into the tax returns of members of Congress. All of a sudden, oh nope, everything changes. Everything changes. Elon Musk and his team are no longer allowed to conduct these audits. It's not going to happen. The State Department back in charge now, Marco Rubio of USAID, and no longer will Doge be involved.
That's a dirty, dirty shame. That's why Joe Biden wanted 80,000 more IRS agents to keep shaking down the taxpayers. If everybody just stopped paying taxes, what are they going to do? Throw us all in jail?
That's right.
This is a good reason to do it. We went to our first war in this country was over taxation without representation. We have representatives, but they still don't represent us, and they continue to overtax us. The taxes are off the chart, so they can go give it away and scam it. They're not going to investigate Nancy Pelosi, huh? Chuck Schumer.
There will be no accountability.
Who's my favorite?
Adam Schiff.
Where the hell is Adam Schiff at? What happened? No. Has anybody seen him? I haven't.
No, he's not. Well, he made a video the other day talking about how he's so fearful for Democrats that the Trump administration is going to go through their bank accounts and they're going to take away their privileges and they're going to come after them and censor them on social media. They're going to audit their IRS taxes. That's crazy.
Audit me. I don't care. Go ahead. They care because they're dirty. Adam Schiff was on those flights going down to Epstein's place.
Yeah.
If the truth be known about Adam Schiff, he's a pedophile, and you can take that to the bank.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I know that Kash Patel. I played a video of Kash Patel a week or so ago, in which he said that Adam Schiff is the worst criminal we've seen in our government in 250 years.
See, I can spot him. I'm telling you, he's awful quiet.
Always
awful quiet. And he was on those flights. And I have always said, because I can profile people real fast, he's a pedophile.
Your words. I believe you.
Yeah. Believe it. Oh, yeah, believe it. Hey, I'll let you go. I know you want to finish up. Great show. People, ladies especially, you don't see it, but this is a dangerous, dangerous state. So especially the women, get out there and train, get some help. Tabitha, won't you marry a Washington Guard? You're no longer longer alone, right? And that's the thing. I guess you're working tomorrow, huh? No show tomorrow?
No show tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday, and we'll hopefully see you back next Wednesday.
Yeah. Jay Saunders says that shift is scared. They will do the same to them they did to the Trump and conservatives.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what he did in his video. Everything that he said in that video is what they've already done to us. He knows the playbook, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Allison, girls, I'll see you on Saturday at our muster, God willing. So stay safe. God bless Donald Trump, and keep the faith. Join the Guard. See you next week.
Thank you, Colonel Joe Adams of the Washington Guard. We will look forward to seeing you next week. So happy to have Colonel Joe Adams join us today. You know, reach out to the Washington Guard, WashingtonGuard.com, and check out what's going on over there. You know, ladies, we all need self-defense. Look at who's on the comment line. Good to see you, Mr. Chuck Lofgren. So, you know, let's backtrack a little bit. If you weren't here on the show yesterday, we spent quite a bit of time yesterday talking about the Department of Doge and what was going on with the Department of Doge. And very quietly last Thursday in the cabinet meeting, Donald Trump made the statement that we need to continue with a scalpel and not a hatchet. And therefore, the Department of Doge and Elon Musk will now serve as an advisory role. The audits, the accountability for employees is all going back to the cabinet members, you know, with Marco Rubio again taking over as Secretary of State for USAID, so he will be accountable there. And the Department of Doge are not going to be conducting these audits any longer, you know. And so Donald Trump said that it's going to be up to these cabinet members to control their branches, control their departments, to see it fit that they eliminate employees who shouldn't be there. And the reason why we're told this happened and why the Department of Doge is, in my opinion, been sidelined. And I realize that, you know, Elon Musk is still working in the background, is in an advisory role. He's not gone, but we're not seeing the sledgehammer that we were seeing. We're not going to see that anymore. And I understand why. I don't like it, but I do understand why. And that is because Donald Trump, he's being fought from every single angle. Look at all these judges going against him. You know, just recently, something that I wouldn't have even thought was a really big deal was that we had the Columbia University student who was protesting. Now, in a violent manner. It wasn't that he was just protesting, which would be his right. He was protesting in a violent manner for Gaza, you know. And so Donald Trump said, hey, you know, you Columbia University, you need to expel violent protesters. If you don't expel violent protesters, and then we are going to take away your federal funding. And then to you, violent student protesters, we're going to send you back. We're going to deport you back to your country if you have, you know, are part of these violent protests here in the United States. Well, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. He arrested the guy. They were ready to deport him. Well, then guess what? A judge popped in and said, nope, Donald Trump, that's not going to happen. They're fighting every single thing he does, everything he does. And I think he saw the attention that Elon Musk was getting. And quite honestly, Elon Musk was getting more attention than Donald Trump. And the things that the Department of Doge was doing was certainly getting a lot more attention. And a lot of people were very thankful for Elon Musk and what he was doing with the Department of Doge. And I'm not saying that that had anything to do with why now they've been a little bit sidelined. I think it's because liberals lost their minds over what Elon Musk was doing. And there was no way that we were going to win those battles. And I think Donald Trump finally had to say, well, what's in the best interest in the long run of the American people? You know, in the long run, we might be better served by having these cabinets do their own audits, do their own firing. You know, they're going to look at their own employees and say, we're going to keep the most productive people and we're going to let go of those who are less productive. Now, Donald Trump also said that if these department heads, if these cabinet members do not make the budget cuts that are necessary to save our government, then it's going to have to go back to the Department of Doge. You know, they're going to give them a trial run and see if they can handle things that way to try to make sure that the courts will allow this to go through. Because if members of the cabinets, they're doing their own firing, they're doing their own audits, I guess the courts might look at it a little more objectively. I don't think so. I think the liberal judges are going to oppose it no matter who's doing the firing, quite honestly. But just about every single person that was fired under the Department of Doge is back to work. Quite honestly, there were people who legally took a severance package and left their positions in the government because they decided, hey, we're going to take the severance package, we're going to get 8 months of pay, and we're not going to work, and blah blah blah. Those people legally left their jobs, but all of the people that the Department of Doge said was fired, those people, most of them are back to work right now. And the ones who aren't back to work are part of a class action lawsuit. So we really, as great as it all looked, we didn't get very far with any of that. We have judges saying, oh, even though they found all this fraudulent, wasteful spending, we're still going to make sure these payments are made. Social Security, look at all the Social Security waste and fraud that the Department of Doge found. And guess what? There are still judges out there who are saying, you're wrong, Department of Doge. This money is still going to be paid out. We can't stop it. So it's a bad situation we're in. It's a really bad situation. And the only way we're going to solve this is if we can figure out a way legally where Donald Trump can put these judges in their place and say, hey, I am the executive power of this country. The majority of Americans voted for me to lead this country. Therefore, you, Supreme Court judge, or you, lower district judge, you cannot tell me how to run the country. Now, how we'll come about that, I don't know, but I think it needs to be done. But then does that set a precedent that down the road, if a Democrat leader comes into power again, that they could potentially do the same thing? So we'll just have to see how it works out. Jay says Letitia James and Alvin Bragg had their security clearances revoked along with some others. Jay, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a topic that I want to talk about before we leave today, is that Tulsi Gabbard, did make a statement yesterday, and she said that all of the intelligence members who took part in the Hunter Biden investigation, remember how they all signed that letter that said the Hunter Biden laptop excuse me, was Russian disinformation? They all had their security clearances revoked. Why? Because we know they lied. Now, shouldn't they also be fired? Because if your job is to protect the United States, to protect our, national security, and here we have this laptop in which crimes occurred within our government under Obama and Joe Biden's watch, and then they said, oh, none of that's real. It's all just Russian disinformation. This laptop does not exist. There's nothing on the laptop. It's all lies and fakery. And then we find out, nope, they just lied. They just lied. The laptop was real. The videos on it were real. The emails were on it was real. Pedo Peter is real. The big guy is real. The Biden crime family is real. It was all real all along. It was all real. What wasn't real? The Russia collusion with Donald Trump. That's what wasn't real. So to me, revoking their security clearances, it's not enough. They need to be fired. And quite honestly, I think they need to be imprisoned for seditious conspiracy, because that's exactly what they did. They staged a coup. It was a coup. I talked about it back in the day. They staged a coup against Donald Trump. No different than some other country, like what's going on in Ukraine right now, where we have Zelensky, who doesn't want his opponents to come into power. So therefore they jail them, they bankrupt them, they attempt to assassinate them. That's what they do in other countries. Well, guess what? That's what they did here too. And that's called a coup. It's called seditious conspiracy. And these people absolutely need to be held accountable. But I'm really starting to think we'll never see any bit of accountability in this country. I know I'm jumping ahead because we're only, like I said yesterday, I'm not disappointed in Donald Trump. I'm absolutely not. He's looking forward to our future. He's allowing Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi, to handle all these investigations, Tulsi Gabbard to handle her side of investigations. Things are still moving. Things are still making progress. It's nowhere near being over. I just am like a lot of people, where I just want things to happen fast. I have to have a little more patience, and I have to remind myself of that every single day. Jay says, ultimately, the cabinet members will make these cuts and the lawsuits won't have any standing. Jay, let's hope that Donald Trump's plan works, and that even though Elon Musk is no longer going to be taking that hatchet to all of these departments and uncovering all of this fraud. What I think I worry the most about is there will be less transparency. Elon Musk, every time he uncovered fraud, he posted about it on X. He gave news conferences, he gave interviews. We knew exactly what was going on. And you know what? We loved it. Didn't you love that? Isn't that why we voted for Donald Trump? Is for that accountability, for somebody to go through there with that hatchet and say, okay, this is where the fraud's taking place. And all of a sudden, right before they get to those IRS files of these NGOs and members of Congress, nope, it's over. It's over. And I really don't think that these cabinet members are going to be as transparent as the Department of Doge is. I don't think they're going to be as transparent as Elon Musk. When we have, let's say, Marco Rubio, when he's going through his accounts over at the USAID, he's going to say, "Oh, we've uncovered more fraud. This is what's happening." I don't think it's going to work that way anymore, and I'm going to really miss that. That's what we voted for. That's what we wanted, and I want to see it continue. And I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we still have the same transparency. But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen the Epstein list yet. Have you? I haven't seen it yet. I'm still waiting for transparency. I'm still waiting for accountability, and I'm not seeing accountability or transparency happening. I'm not. We keep getting the breadcrumbs, right? Oh, the Epstein files are going to be released today. Nope, no, they weren't, and I understand why they weren't. I certainly understand why. I've noticed that Florida Rep Anna Paulina Luna has been awfully quiet lately. I'm thinking that someone had a little talk with her and said, you know what? We're not going to release these files in the way you want us to release them. So therefore, pipe down just a little bit, because you're getting all the Americans excited and happy that they're going to have these names that they're probably never going to receive. So I think that I think we're going to be all in for an awakening, that accountability we're looking for, we may never see. But I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. And Kimberly, good morning, Kimberly. Just another eye opener for the people knowing we have a crooked judicial system. Boy, we sure do, don't we? And there's, you just think if we could, all get together and write a list, of 100 things that needs to change. But we're working on them one at a time, just one at a time. Allison said, did you see Jasmine Crockett? Yeah, she's become the new Cori Bush. Did you see Jasmine Crockett post on Facebook of her and AOC as stick people beating a stick figure labeled Republicans? And they are beating the Republicans with a stick, screaming, stop, stop, pretty sick. It is pretty sick. And no, I did not see that. I'll have to get out and look for that. Joe Fry, patience, grasshopper. Joe, it's so hard to have patience. It really is, because I think we've all been through the ringer. We've all wanted to see accountability for so long. I wanted to see it in Trump's first term, and we never saw accountability in that term either. And I realize again that, in that time, he was really facing a lot of issues. They were coming at him with every single thing they had. And that hasn't really changed, has it? They're still coming at him with every single thing they have. And we do have to be patient, and things are going to work out in the long run. And I think that maybe we all just need to let go of the past and look towards the future. Maybe we just need to say that, you know what, we're never going to see that Epstein list, and let's just let it go. We're never going to have accountability for all of the fraud that took place with Pelosi and insider trading, with all of these people who took money from taxpayers. Maybe we're never going to see that accountability, and we just need to let it go. We just need to stop thinking about it, stop having those high expectations, because it's not going to happen, and look towards the future. I mean, Donald Trump is trying to work out some deals with us, as Colonel Joe Adams and I were talking about, and is that Greenland has their election today. Donald Trump said, we're going to have Greenland. One way or the other, we're getting Greenland. And I don't think he was joking around. I don't think so. And Joe says, we didn't get here in a day, but decades. Timing is the key. Make sure we get them all. I agree, Joe. We've got to be patient and let it happen. But I don't see Guantanamo being filled up with Congress people on both sides, by the way. I'm not just against the Democrats in Congress. Both sides. If you stole our money, you belong in Gitmo, no question about it. But what's happening in Greenland is historical. They're having an election today. Again, they have 6 parties. Political parties in Greenland, 5 of them want independence from Denmark. 1 wants to stay with Denmark. If the majority wins, then we'll see Greenland become independent. If Greenland becomes independent, we will definitely work a deal with Greenland diplomatically, not militarily. And I believe it was Trump offered them quite a bit of money, billions of dollars, and I think he would up the ante, because if we don't have Greenland, we're in real big trouble, because we need a source for rare earth minerals. While Ukraine has some, Russia took over 70% of Ukraine's rare earth minerals. And when it comes to rare earth minerals, Ukraine, I think, has 17 and there's 30. So they don't have them all. I believe Russia does have them all. Africa has them all, parts of Africa, but China's all over Africa. So we don't really have a lot of options there for rare earth minerals in Africa. And so we have to find our own source. We have some rare earth minerals here in the United States, but do we really want to start mining in our own country and tearing up, making people leave their homes, entire communities, so that we can start mining for rare earth minerals? And I don't think we have all of them, from what I understand. But Greenland has a great source of rare earth minerals, completely untapped, never touched. And if we can find a way, and it shouldn't be difficult because Greenland is sparsely populated, if we can find a way to tap into their rare earth minerals, that's military equipment for us for many, many, many years to come. Remember, it used to be oil. Everybody wanted oil. Now it's all about rare earth minerals. And we need all 30 plus of the rare earth minerals. We need them all. We use them to make submarines and bullets and planes and missiles and all types of different things we need for our defense. And we've got to keep up. If we don't keep up, we'll be behind. And I think we all know what happens when we're behind. So we've got to do what we've got to do. Jay says, we are impatient people. I'm impatient. I will admit it. I'm extremely impatient. I'm ready for arrests. I'm ready for accountability. I don't want to wait another day, let alone another 3 years. But it could happen. And you know what it'll be telling to me? If they release those Epstein names to us, that'll give me a little bit more faith in what we were told would be our transparency. But, them knocking back the Department of Doge really has thrown me for a loop, because I was so excited to come in every day and say, oh, look what Doge is doing. Look what Doge is doing. And we're not going to have that anymore. To some degree, we'll probably still hear some things, but not like we did. You also, Karen's heading out. Have a good day. And Joe says, if people don't stand against this and just let it go, the corruption will never stop. Time to rise up and make a stand against these criminals. I agree, Joe. I'm just trying to teach myself a lesson that maybe I just have to let it go, because I'm just so worried about accountability and making these people pay for their actions. Our country's pretty much bankrupt. We're heading into, Joe Biden changed the terms of what a recession is. We've probably been in a recession for a long time. We're probably heading towards a serious depression. And that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's the spending habits of the administration before him. All the theft that went on, I feel like they knew that this was coming, that Democrats knew Donald Trump was going to win. And so therefore, it was a money grab. They put somebody like Joe Biden in place, completely incompetent, had no idea what was going on, no idea what the auto pen was signing. And as Allison said on the comment line a little bit ago, Joe Biden was in the Caribbean on vacation, and somehow somebody in Washington, D.C. is auto signing different bills, into order. And so therefore, it should be completely disqualified and completely illegitimate. That's probably not going to happen because, we don't see accountability. So that's probably not going to happen. But I think it was just a big money grab. They all thought, you know what? We don't have an acting president for this term, for these 4 years. Let's use the auto pen and just steal all the money. We'll just steal all the money that the government has and what they're collecting from taxpayers. And we'll take it and grab it and go while we can, because once Donald Trump comes into office, it's all over. And so I think they just had that big free for all, for those 4 years. And they stole every single penny they could. And, who's going to pay for that is us. We're going to pay for that because now we're in a very serious situation in this country where we don't have enough money to run our government, and we don't have anywhere to get the money. It's not like it used to be where we can just, rob one sector to pay another sector. So we're facing some tough, tough times. Mary, 4 years of Bidenomics screwed us up. You better believe that. You better believe it. Jay, the results of an uneducated voter base. You better believe that also. Jay says, we were already in a recession, but suddenly Dems want to blame it on Trump. Of course they do. We've been in a place of overinflation for, gosh, a very long time now, because what was Biden doing? Just printing out money left and right, paying off student loans against, by way of court's decision, paying off student loans. They were giving money left and right to anyone that had their hand out. They were creating shell corporations, these NGOs signing with AutoPen, and the money was just being doled out left and right. And I have no doubt that Jill, not Joe, Jill was sitting at a desk somewhere at her home in Delaware, just counting the cash. Okay, you use the AutoPen to sign Joe Biden's name. Okay, well, there's $1 million for us. That's our fee for the use of the AutoPen. And, I'm sure that's exactly what's happened. It's just highly unfortunate that this has happened to the American people. Highly unfortunate. And there's a lot more going on. The world is going crazy right now. Canada and their fake elections. I'm going to play this little video. Col Joe Adams brought up Canada. Now, of course, we talked yesterday how the new prime minister, John Carney, this guy is a friend of Epstein. He's a friend of Ghislaine Maxwell. And there's countless photos and videos of them hanging out together. And the Canadians really got screwed, that's for sure. Mary and I got eggs yesterday for $3.49 at Trader Joe's. That's excellent. That's a really good price. So listen to this Canadian here talking about the election in Canada. And this won't surprise you.
So tell me how
absolutely
this
will
is
not surprise you.
democracy. Our prime minister in Canada was just elected by 151,000 people. We have 41 million people in Canada, meaning that 0.37% of the population got to choose our next prime minister. And let me remind you that the Liberals threatened $10,000 fines if anyone else tried to join their party to vote for our prime minister. So tell me that Donald Trump is the biggest threat to democracy in Canada when the Liberals are doing this right in front of our faces, and then they call you a right-wing extremist when you decide to point this.
Exactly. I love the Canadian people. I know French Canadians, I know British Canadians, just regular Canadians, and all of the ones I know absolutely love Donald Trump. Now, I'm sure I know there's a lot of Canadians that don't like Donald Trump, of course. But the ones I've met do, and they're good people. It's a great country, and it's unfortunate that they have to go through all of this. There's just so much going on in the world, and then we have Donald Trump, who is again looking towards our future of peace. We have Zelensky today in his little Ukrainian tracksuit meeting with King Abdullah Salman, of course, or King, yeah, in Saudi Arabia, and he's there with Marco Rubio, trying to work out a peace deal. But this is just a talk. There's no signing of any documents that are to take place. Marco Rubio is just there to say, hey, what's going on, Zelensky? What is it you want? How can we create peace with you? And of course, Donald Trump says, well, you know what? I'm not going to take a deal with just minerals. I want an election in Ukraine. I want to see peace. I want to see a ceasefire. And then what happens? Then we have yesterday where Ukraine, of course, at the helm of Zelensky, it was the largest barrage of drones we've seen yet. And guess what they did? They targeted Moscow. Now, you talk about poking the bear, they targeted Moscow. They targeted the civilian area of Moscow. One of their drones, Russia was able to successfully take down, I think it was 200 and something drones, but one hit an apartment complex in Russia, killed one person, injured three. Putin's not happy. The man is not happy right now. Donald Trump, not happy right now. And so now Russia is convening to decide, do they want to launch another Oreshnik missile over into Ukraine, because they have had enough. They've had enough. And in the meantime, Russia continues to march forward. And you'll hear these stories where people say, and this is what the Democrats say. They say, oh, Russia is invading Ukraine, and oh, the poor civilians that Russia comes across. But what people don't understand, the areas that Russia is taking, those are Russian-speaking people who welcome. They are being liberated. They're being liberated. I'm going to show you a quick video because we don't have a whole lot of time. And if you're just listening, it is subtitled because they're speaking in Russia. You can see the relief on these people's faces when Russian troops approach them. These are people who right now, They're living in the cold. They're suffering. And why? At the hands of Ukraine. And these are people who technically are Ukrainians, even though they're Russian speaking, and they're being liberated by Russia. They're not being attacked by Russia, they're being liberated. Look at the relief in their faces.
Пришли свои.
Ой, не вірить.
Спецназ Ахмат.
Ой,
Россия. Бабуль, нормально все.
я тільки хотіла спросити, я чую, що солдатики балакають. Топить, чи можна топити? Я хоча б хоч обувь посушила. Отут.
Все, можете выходить, нормально все, не переживайте. Из домов можете выходить, можете здесь вон на лавочке сидеть, отдыхать под солнышком.
Ой,
Все хорошо, успокойтесь,
не знаю,
успокойтесь.
як би благодарність якою. Ой.
Мы здесь 7 месяцев, ребята.
7 месяцев здесь?
Да.
А с кем проживаете?
Я, жена, теща и отец.
А, вчетвером?
Четвером. И вот
Ну,
этот,
вот этот
и
мужик.
дедушка, который...
А, и
тут
дедушка.
Он сгорел дома у нас.
То есть получается 7 человек вот
Пять.
здесь?
5.
There's a lot more to that video. I'll share that later on social media. I don't think I'll get kicked off of Facebook for showing that. It goes on to show other people that he approaches, mostly elderly people, who cry when they see, these Russian troops liberating them. They even say, we're being liberated. Wow. Did you see that lady? Can I turn my stove on? She was too scared to turn her stove on because she was worried that the Ukrainian forces would attack her. And in fact, I have other video, which I've shared on Telegram, that shows Ukrainian troops, at, of course, Zelensky's direction. They sent, I think it was 238 drones that they've sent into these civilian areas along the Donetsk and Kursk regions. These people were in Kursk. That's an area that's newly liberated by Russia. Russia continues to move along, and Zelensky is pausing. And as he's pausing and waiting to work out some kind of a deal where he keeps to keep his $60 billion and remain the president of Ukraine, people are dying. People are dying. People are being liberated, and troops are dying. It's just highly unfortunate that we have to deal with this situation. But the world is not a great place for everyone, unfortunately. Not a great place for everyone. And let's hope it becomes a greater place for us. Here's something crazy. Did you know that Donald Trump had a Scottish golf resort? I had absolutely no idea. I seriously had no idea. I was reading a story. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Donald Trump. I was reading a story yesterday about some of these pro-Palestinian people over in Scotland who attacked Donald Trump. They vandalized Donald Trump's golf course. It's called Turnberry, which sounds very Scottish, doesn't it? Turnberry Golf Club. And it's a golf resort owned by Donald Trump, allegedly his favorite, golf resort. And they destroyed some of the holes that are supposed to be world-renowned holes, at this particular golf place. And I was looking at, this place looks like a palace. It is absolutely unbelievable. I had absolutely no idea that Donald Trump owned a golf resort in Scotland. I had no idea. Now it's been vandalized, and I bet Donald Trump's probably not very happy about that. You guys may have heard also Washington, D.C. Black Lives Matter Plaza is no more. It has been renamed Liberty Plaza. It's being bulldozed over, repainted. They're going to put up a beautiful patriotic mural, and it will now be called Liberty Plaza. Couldn't wait for that day to come now, could we? So that's about it. I know there's a lot of other things going on in the news. Only thing I really wanted to mention outside of that was the Pentagon, going back to rare earth minerals. Donald Trump is going to appoint a rare earth minerals czar, and he is going to start building these rare earth mineral refineries at all of the Pentagon military bases. So that way we can kind of compete with China. That's what China does. We can start processing our own rare earth minerals from wherever it is we're importing them in from, whether that be Ukraine or Russia or Greenland. We'll be able to bring them here to the United States and run them through our refineries that will be kept on military bases, which I think is pretty interesting. On military bases, I think there's some significance there. But other than that, guys, that's all I have for today. I have got to run. I've got work to do. But I do thank you for joining me again today. Certainly thankful to Colonel Joe Adams for joining us. I will not be here tomorrow. I have to work some anti-piracy tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, but I will be back on Thursday and Friday. And Colonel Adams, Zelensky has relocated his #1 military leader to Britain. He is now in charge of the embassy in England. That's crazy, isn't it, Colonel Adams? Well, pretty soon Zelensky will be seeking asylum in France. It's coming. He's going to be replaced, no question about it. And then we're finally going to see a little bit of peace while we can. But we'll see if Russia decides to launch that Oreshnik into Ukraine, that's going to change a lot of things. Either way, I hope to see you guys all on Thursday. Have a really great day tomorrow. Thank you again, Colonel Joe Adams, for joining us today. And be prepared for that crazy weather coming through Friday, guys. Be prepared. Lots of talk of severe storms coming through our areas. Well, either way, look